Another episode of Food, Mood, Attitude, where we talk about all things health, wellness, eating psychology, mindfulness, body image, and so much more. And I'm super excited today. This is episode number 6. Wait, let's just jam out for one sec. Some people are waiting. All right, I'm a jammer. All right, I'm super excited to have Lisa Suski here today. Suski? Is that how you pronounce it?
Suski, yeah.
Okay. And this show, some of you might have known already, this is our 6th episode, and I unfortunately had to take a bit of a hiatus because sadly my father passed away and I just needed to take that break. But now I'm so happy to be back because this is such a fun show to do. There's so many relevant and interesting and powerful and important topics to talk about in the stratosphere of health and wellness. And today I'm really excited to introduce you to Lisa. Let me tell you a little bit about her. And come on and give us some hearts and likes when you pop on, and feel free to ask questions or give us some comments as we go. So Lisa is a wellness coach, optometrist, a self-described foodie, wife, and mother of 3 adorable children. She specializes in nutrition and helps people replace inflammatory foods with nourishing foods to eliminate disease, allow the body to heal, and live a thriving, vibrant, life and live in a vibrant, healthy body. So, Lisa, welcome. So happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about you. I'm so interested that you are an optometrist. So I always get that mixed up with the other one. So optometrist.
Yeah, there's 3 O's. Yeah.
Yeah. So optometry. What else is there? An ophthalmologist. Ophthalmologist, and then what's the third one?
An optician.
Right. Okay. So what is yours?
Depending on what part of the world you're in, it depends on what we do. I mean, in North America, as an optometrist, I prescribe eyeglasses and I prescribe medications like eye drops to treat eye disease. Diagnose, treatment plan, just basically no surgeries. So the ophthalmologist will do the surgeries, and the opticians are more into fitting of the glasses, and the actual lenses and stuff like that. So yeah, we tell them what to put in them.
That's fabulous. And you do this, how many years have you been doing that?
I am an optometrist now, 14 years.
Yes.
So it's been quite a while. I did my science degree. It took 3 years, and then I did my doctor of optometry, which took 4 years. So it's been an awesome road. I mean, and then we were just, as an optometrist, I was seeing so much chronic disease as well, like dry eye, like macular degeneration, these things that they're difficult to really get to the root cause. We get a lot of things we can do to manage them, like steroid drops. We can put other just lubricating drops. We can put hot compresses and things just to make them feel comfortable. But it's like that inflammation still keeps on coming back. So it's not like we could give an antibiotic and an infection goes away, because it's not an outside bug or germ. It's kind of like the body attacking itself.
It's like a systemic thing.
Yeah. And inflammation is pretty misunderstood. In a way that it's the body attacking itself. So sometimes people will get like an iritis. Sometimes people will get asthma. Sometimes people will get Hashimoto's thyroid. Sometimes people get arthritis. Sometimes people just get like skin disease or asthma. But it's really essentially the same thing. And we never know kind of what part's going to get attacked, when it's going to get attacked. But it's kind of all the same blanketed diseases, and steroids do help a lot, and they help people function, which is great, and we need steroids. But it just becomes like, how do you get to that root cause to eliminate why the inflammation is there in the first place, right?
Yeah, I totally resonate with that, because I actually have an autoimmune disorder myself. I have Hashimoto's, and it's so important to to look at it in a holistic way. So the work that I do with people, it's all about inflammation as well, but related to the stress response. So helping people get into a relaxation response to help, have some of the stress hormones be excreted from their systems. But what you're talking about, I think what you do more is about how food can eliminate some of the inflammation, right?
Right, because food can be, I kind of simplify it, and this is kind of where I like to demystify things, is where it's kind of like inflammatory or anti-inflammatory, essentially. Mm-hmm. There's kind of a third one that kind of does not really much, right? It's called a neutral ground. And so what I found over the years was, and it started with my son. So he had really bad eczema when he was a baby. So he started off at 2 months just bleeding skin. We had to put mitts on him. It was a mess. He wouldn't sleep more than an hour and a half. And I mean, we were just awake 24/7 with this little guy who was suffering and crying a lot because his stomach was upset. And at the time, I mean, I didn't even know that it was his stomach. I thought it was his skin, right?
Wow.
So we took him to all the appointments. We went to tons of blood work, tons of counseling, like nutritional, like from a dietitian, like a Western trained type of philosophy. And oh man, like it was just unreal, actually. And then I just thought, you know what, the steroid cream is going to help his skin. I know that, but how does it stop from coming back over and over again, right? And then this is where I dug deep into my science roots and into my other paths of like using the internet and webinars and different books and, all these things, and found out that a lot of the triggers were food. And then what I discovered kind of after we nailed the food is more kind of where your stuff lies is the emotional aspect. So it's like, are you carrying those emotional baggage with you, and what's that pain in your neck, or what are you shouldering, or whatever. And so now I'm doing more with branching out a little bit more into the emotional releasing aspect, because dis-ease is the body not at ease, right?
Right, exactly. That's fascinating. So you went from having your optometry practice, and then what you went through with your son really got you interested in finding the root cause of different illnesses, and how food plays a role, how emotional pieces play a role. And is that when you decided to get your wellness certificate as well?
Yeah, that's where I kind of got on with doing all. And then what happens is you start helping your son, and a mama lion or a mama bear, just like there's nothing stops that from
sure.
that baby,
Definitely.
So it was like all guns blazing kind of thing. Went hardcore, all in, like chucked out so much food. I was just like, we're not even going to go moderate. We're going hardcore. This needs to be healed. He needs to gain weight. He needs to sleep. We all need to sleep. So we found out a lot of the anti-inflammatory foods to add in were the green leafy vegetables plus the omega-3s. So we started adding a lot of that in. And we started eliminating a lot of the inflammatory foods for him. And it's sort of different for everyone. That's why... and we'll talk about it closer to the end, of listening to your own body.
Yeah. And
because not everyone, like for him, even tomatoes are inflammatory, right? But they're not necessarily an inflammatory food. Mm-hmm. So we kind of got adding in all those greens, all those omega-3s. We got rid of the wheat for him. We got rid of the dairy for him. And then he started to heal. And now looking at him, you can't even tell he ever had it. Wow. And it's quite incredible. We found different things as the time went on. Things like canola oil were bad for him, like genetically modified things with preserves. So we try to really, preservatives. So we really try to eat food without labels, because even though they're labeled, it doesn't necessarily mean they're good for you. There's often lots of added sugar, lots of added toxins, lots of chemicals in there. Whereas if you make it yourself, you kind of know what's in there, right?
Right.
So this is where I like to take the overwhelm out of it for people, because it's like, okay, so you hear you should eat gluten-free. Okay, great. Well, maybe some people should. But it's like, just because it's labeled gluten-free doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you either, because there's so much processing to that food. And when the food's processed, you eat it and your body goes into inflammatory state again because it doesn't recognize it. And it goes, oh, help, help. And then it kind of starts attacking and it flares up again, right?
Yeah, and you bring up such a good point, because, certain foods that will be inflammatory for some people might not be for others. So it's this whole like bio-individuality piece of it, and certain people are very sensitive to nightshades, other people wouldn't, but it's about learning your own biochemical makeup to determine what foods are going to be the best for you and the most nourishing for you. And I found I had to give up gluten for a while too. And you're absolutely right. Like, just because it says it's gluten-free doesn't mean that this food is going to be healthy for you. And in fact, because you feel that deprivation, well, I can't have wheat and I can't have bread, so maybe I'm going to have all this other stuff like in a Snickers bar or something, and doesn't have gluten in it, but that's maybe not the best choice either. So it's pretty complicated, I would think.
Yeah, but that's where I like to just take the foods and just break it into, like, is this going to trigger your body to inflammatory response or is it not? And I mean, we can even eat all the anti-inflammatory food we want, and only have anti-inflammatory food. But what, I've been asked a lot, what starts inflammation in the first place, right? So, why didn't we necessarily have so much of it years ago? Well, part of it is inflammation. If we're in a human body, we basically have it, because if you have a body, you have a certain type of stress response no matter what. And so even back in caveman days, you get chased by a lion, you go into stress response, that's inflammatory response, but those are bursts. And our body can cope with that, and that's inflammation, and that's in a good way. It gives us more energy, and it does what it needs it to do. But if you're that constant stress, that constant, I hate my job, you're constantly in that inflammatory mode, and it just eats away at a person. Same with all the toxins in our environment. Those things are foreign to our body. It doesn't know what to do with it, so it goes into stress response, and then it has a hard time. So this is why, if you're can get rid of those toxins, get rid of the emotional baggage, get rid of the foods that are causing it for you, then basically you're left with a life that's full of thriving. And the more healthy you are and the better you feel energetically, the more you're going to gravitate towards the green leafy vegetables and the foods that support you rather than not support you. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh, totally. This is very much what I do with people too, in the regard that the day in and day out low level stress can even be more toxic than when you have these like crisis type of fight or flight response.
Yeah.
God forbid that happens, but and your body it gets the toxic load is too much for our bodies, and it creates this like systemic inflammation. And then people wonder like why maybe they're not losing weight, or why they're not feeling good. It's oftentimes because of that inflammation. It's your body's going to like hang on to fat tissue. It's going to decrease your muscle mass growth. It's going to increase fat storage, right? There's going to be all this other norepinephrine, all these different hormones that are like constantly raging through your system. And I'm just curious, like, so tell me what a typical session with you would look like. So if I came to you and I'm like, I just know I'm full of inflammation, like, what should I do, Lisa? Tell me what like a session would be with you.
Okay, so so if you wanted to do a session, we would go over kind of where you are as far as what's going on in your life, like what foods are you eating, how's your stress levels. Then we move into kind of where you want to be, and then we kind of dive deep into those root causes, and then I'll customize and figure out what we need to do. So for some people, I'll give some examples. We move into more of a food structure where we take the overwhelm out of what to eat every day, right? Because some people need that to get the best kind of quickest thing to get their stress response down, to get the inflammation down. So they don't even know what to make on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So we kind of map that out. We put in the foods that are going to help them, remove the ones that aren't, and then they have a map of what to do for like 3 months, and you go with from there. Other people, the map looks a bit different, right? And it's kind of like we were talking about, everyone's slightly different.
Yeah.
Some people just know they need stuff, but they can't kind of dive right in. They're not maybe in enough pain, or there's too much fear there. So I kind of get them to just start somewhere with even just like one client of mine, we started with 5 spinach leaves because she was just like petrified of live food. She wasn't sure about vegetables. And it's like, well, and I wanted it. And the other thing is there's that energy behind it. So if you hate it and you're slugging back your drink that you just can't stand, and you're putting it together with all this negative energy and creating it, well, that's going into you. So I wanted it to come from a place of love, where she's like, yes, I can handle 5 spinach. I can like 5 spinach leaves. So she would make her smoothie with 5 spinach leaves. And seriously, I just spoke with her the other day, and she's decreasing her asthma medications. She's back running again. She is also has more energy than she's ever had. She's got an online business that she's had her best, most successful month this past month. So it's been pretty remarkable, her journey. And
wow.
She went from eating like processed foods like pizza, excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. From not really knowing how to cook or what to cook to actually healing her asthma holistically. Now, I'm not saying don't take your asthma medication by any means, but she's been able to wean off with using her family doctor. So it's pretty powerful.
Wow. So that's a perfect example of what you mean when you say take the overwhelm out of what to eat and what not to eat, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, instead of like going full court press, like let's start incrementally. Like, can you put 5 spinach leaves in your stew or in your smoothie, or what are some other examples of how you take the overwhelm out of it?
Well, the other thing is I map out days for her. So, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, she knows what she's getting. She knows the grocery store list. So she gets exactly the way to go. The other thing I do with her is the energy bit of it. Mm-hmm. So, we get her to tune in, and she can read her own body, work with her own intuition, and she's honestly been gravitated towards those foods that she really likes. So I kind of take the 4 food groups, though, like the proteins, the dairy, the fruit and veg, and the grains, and then just kind of break them down into which is what do you eat out of those ones. First of all, we don't need to start adding that's another thing I do for overwhelm, is I don't get you to add a whole bunch of stuff. I don't ask you to do it all at once, and I do ask you that you enjoy it, because it has to happen for it to be sustainable. So we break those 4 food categories down, and then you look at all the foods you can eat, and not necessarily the ones you can't. So if I say one person maybe isn't supposed to have bread, right? Well, okay, now that person has just been torn upside down because they eat toast every morning, they have sandwiches for lunch, and they just don't even know what to eat for most of their day anymore. So we break that down into, okay, well, let's get into the breakfast. Okay, what's our other options, and then we go into the lunch, and we just, very practical, very day-to-day stuff with it. And I'm just thinking back with another lady that I helped her map out everything. She even did it so that in her house, she had a family as well, and as herself. So she didn't necessarily want to put all that on her family to have to eat this way. And so she didn't feel right about it. So we even had it so that she could make what she needed for herself and make what she needed for her family, but not necessarily do 2 separate meals. So we figured it out all in that way. So that was really exciting.
That is super empowering, I feel like, because it's taking something like the knowing doesn't always equal the doing, right? Like we know we should be eating certain things, but the bridge that needs to be kind of put together is how to do it, and how to do it in a way that's sustainable, right? That isn't like dread and exhaustion. And I think you bring up such a great point that there has to be a level of pleasure into the experience or it won't be sustainable, right? So you're trying to work with people to make these changes in a way that's like in flow rather than force, it seems like.
Yes. Yeah, as soon as you get into that pushing mode, you almost push it away. I mean, what you resist persists, right?
Yeah.
And so another thing is the sugar thing. And I mean, like white sugar, we all know that it's a horrible, addicting, non-nutritious thing, right? But it's yummy. It's in everything. It makes things taste good. So rather than getting rid of all the sweetness from your life, let's use, like, for example, dates even. And I don't mean just go eat a date, because not many people really like just doing that. But I have ways that we can incorporate sweetness still, that, you know, you're getting your pleasures out of it. So
my mom used to make me dates with peanut butter, and I loved it. I loved it. She would like split open the date, take the pit out, and put a little bit of peanut butter in on a plate. And she would like make all these, like, she would make me fruit plates essentially, which for a kid isn't always what they want, you know, they want the crackers or whatever. And she would like make everything so fancy, and like, you know, we eat with our eyes first, right? So a lot of it's how you present it, and then, you know, taking time to like smell the foods. And, you know, I do a lot of mindful eating kind of techniques too, but I feel like you're so right. Like it's all about how you approach that food, and that you have to like really be into it. You can't be like, okay, here I go again. You know, I'm going to take another one of these spinach leaves, and, you know, not feel like you're doing it for the right reasons.
Well, even just the simple thing of a grocery store. I mean, I've helped people just change the energy behind grocery shopping from like, I don't know what to buy, to looking forward to buying stuff and creating it. And there's a sense of personal power that you have when you're putting your food on your plate for yourself, with like, or for your family, and to have it be so nourishing to you. It's just a huge sense of pleasure just even in that. And to be, I mean, it's fun to eat out, and true, like I love eating out myself, especially when there's like a chef there making it look all pleasing and stuff. But it's something to be said that where you don't have to go to the frozen section and just get the ready-made meals and have all those other things laced into that, right?
Right. Yeah. That's great. I mean, I think what you do is so important, and I think half of it is like this idea that it's going to be somehow dreadful or really difficult, and I love the idea that you helped like demystify it, and you make it more palatable for people to both get what they want from the health perspective, but also bringing in this other place where it's true nourishment, and it's a choice that you're making because you want to, not because you have to. And you know, I know you also focus a little bit on seasonal foods and making sure that you get in variety based on what's going on in the season. So can you tell us a little bit about that too?
Sure, yeah. I'll speak from it in North America. In South America, obviously, it's just flipped. So, we're in a time of autumn right now, or fall. So right now, you might be craving less of the, you know, berries, less of the spinach, less of the light stuff, right, that just grows on our trees in the spring, right? And now we're kind of transitioning into the root vegetables. So now go for more of the beets, go for more of the carrots, right? Because those things are in season. So if they're going to taste better, they're going to be right from like the garden to the store, because they're in season, right? And then that gives you variety, so that right now in winter through there, you're going to be eating lots of warming foods. It's colder outside, so you need warming foods inside. So you're going to want to have more stews. You're going to have more warm soups. You're going to have maybe one pot dishes. Whereas then spring comes, I mean, you're kind of gravitated toward different foods. There's different things coming out. There's, you know, more fresh rhubarbs. The berries come out. So you're going to go for more of that fresh, lighter stuff, the new buds and stuff like that. And you're going to have not needing to be as warming of food. So you're going to go for more salads. You're going to go for more, you know, maybe bean salads even, or fruit salads or vegetable salads, and maybe a bit lighter on, like, you're not going to want a big stew or a roast chicken or something. You're going to want to have just something easier to digest, right?
Yeah, like a corn and tomato salad or something like that.
Yeah,
In the summer.
just something lighter. Yeah, and something cooler, like cooler in temperature, and it ends up being cooler energetically as well. Like you crave more watermelon on a hot day, and you're going to want, you know, that comfort food in the winter, like a good, like real good stew or something, right?
Yeah, so I use this company called Purple Carrot. It's a vegetarian meal kit delivery service, and I love it. And I just made last night a pumpkin curry, and it was like the most like warming, delicious, comforting, stick to your belly. Like everything was like perfect. You know, I can't imagine having like a gazpacho last night. You know what I mean? It was like a cool night. Yeah, so that's great. So it's really like honoring what the seasonal local foods are giving you, right? In any given
Right,
time.
and if you have foods that are like carrots and beets and all that right now, it's like, so now you have it and you enjoy it, and then come spring, it's like you're done with it. So then by the next 6 months come around, you're looking forward to it again, right? So you already have a natural built-in change, a natural built-in variety, so you're not eating that same old thing. I get that too. It's like, oh, I'm tired of this. I eat this for months, but it's like, actually, if you kind of change up what's in the outside aisles of the grocery store, or people like with the delivery, I mean, they naturally put that in there. Like last night too, it was the perfect example. I did a pumpkin red lentil stew. Soup. So I mean, again, all those cinnamon and flavors and all that is just very warming to the body and very comforting, and that's what it wants, right? And maybe like a warm lemon drink or something, where in the summer you'd maybe want a cool one, right?
Yeah, this is so great. It's making me hungry. Yeah, no, I totally love this idea of the variety piece, because there wouldn't be like 20 different types of Doritos or like 15 types of Oreos if there wasn't a need for variety, right? So like we have to, in our pursuit to help reduce inflammation and help people to eat healthy, there has to be this variety piece of it in order to keep people interested. It's such a huge factor, I feel like.
Yeah, it's human need, right? There's the comfort of the same old thing, but we get so bored of the same old thing, even at just routine. Like, it's like that movie Groundhog Day, right? If you wake up every day and you do the exact same thing, no matter how great a day it is, it still becomes boring and predictable, right?
Yeah.
So you want to have changes in your, that's why I do like these 3-month block meals stuff for people, because it's like, it's so much more rewarding than to just be like, I have to eat this for the rest of my life, like rice and chicken, or chicken and beans, or, like it just becomes,
Yeah, totally with you. I know exactly what you mean. So tell me, give me your top 5 or top 10 foods that for most of your clients help to reduce inflammation. Like, what are the things that people should be looking for or moving towards? I know you said greens, like a lot of the different types of greens. What else would you recommend?
Yeah, so what I mean by greens, I'll just explain that just a little bit more, because people thought I meant something different, like just beans, like green beans. But what I mean is green leafy vegetables.
Right.
So I mean like spinach, like kale, like chard, like romaine, and that also builds in variety if you are changing that up as well, right? So if you have spinach for a while, you have a mixed green, and the food will taste different, and which will be nicer. So the greens are key to me. If you look at a green leaf, it's full of color, it's full of life, it's alive, it's crisp, it's beautiful. If you look at a box of cereal, for example, that stuff does not rot. Like, it's dead food. So if you are wanting to feel more alive and be more alive, you go with the green leafy live food rather than going with the dead, never rotting cereal, right?
So, like, how do you feel about, I've always been curious about this. Obviously, the nutrients and the antioxidants and so forth, the phytonutrients, are going to be more bioavailable if it's not cooked, but you can still get the anti-inflammatory properties if it's sautéed or if it's cooked in a stew or something like that, right? Or do you prefer only raw stuff?
For my personal beliefs, I personally do get it however you get it. I mean, I don't necessarily believe in everything has to be raw, and I agree with, there's going to be more. If you pick it right off the garden and eat that right to your mouth, yeah, that's going to be more. But I mean, most things aren't that available. We need it trucked in, and plus if you have frozen, for example, as well, if they pick it and then freeze it right away, you're going to get a lot of nutrients as well from that. I throw it in my soups. I put it in my stews. I put it in my cooked stuff, because to me, you're still getting something there, and it's not really practical, at least in Canada, to have, unless you're buying grocery and you're getting it in a grocery store and you're getting it shipped from like California or Florida or something. We're not getting the fresh greens anyway, so I'm like, I freeze stuff from my garden, and then I have it in my freezer, and then I add it to my soups and stews, because it is simply just not good after it's frozen unless you cook it.
Yeah, that's such a good point too. Like, another part of taking the overwhelm out of this is to have all those possibilities, get it frozen, depending on the climate that you're in or where you are, and then just cook with it immediately. For other people, there may be gardens that they can just immediately take it and put it in their smoothies, so that it doesn't have to be just one specific thing. I also there's been this debate about juicing different vegetables, and if it's you get the same benefits and properties from juicing, let's say your greens and celery and cucumber and stuff like that, versus like eating the fibrous parts of it as well. Do you have a thought on that?
I think it depends on your goal myself. So if you want to be very gentle to your digestive system and you're in a real state of repair, go for juicing, because you're going to get those greens, what you need from it, right into your bloodstream, and you're going to get it absorbed, and your digestive system will not have to work very hard. But if you want it for more, if you're kind of in better shape, so to speak, digestively, and you can handle that, I mean, you're getting a lot of good properties just from blending, right?
Yeah.
And it depends, yeah, it really depends on what your goal is and what you juice, because if you juice a lot of fruit, like if you go juice 7 apples, well, your blood sugar is going to go up, because you're getting that right to your bloodstream, right? So if you're in a state of, this is what I was going to say. Now, if you have a body, we all have bodies, I should say, if you have a body, we all have bodies. And when we're in a state of trouble, or systems that don't work well start not working first. So for example, your digestive system is one of the first to go. So if you're getting a cold or you're feeling sick, you think, okay, I don't feel like eating, I'm not that hungry, your appetite automatically goes down. And another one is our reproductive system. I mean, we need our cardiovascular system, so our bodies already protect that, and those are the last organs to go, right? So if you are having digestive issues, I'd say juicing is a more gentle approach to getting the nutrients you need. But if that's been built up and you want it for more of getting like a whole meal, and so you can blend a whole plate full, drink it in 2 minutes, and it's very efficient that way. And so that's kind of what I like to do. But I think it depends on your goal. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, definitely. This is great. I mean, you're so knowledgeable with all these different types of anti-inflammatory foods. And I love that you also bring in the emotional piece of it too, because, we're holistic beings. We're not just, you're not going to be monolithic in your treatment of somebody getting to the root cause, right, of their whatever illnesses they're having. So I love that your approach is like, okay, so let's look at this whole person. What's stressing you? What are you eating? What's in your environment? What toxins are you exposed to, and so forth? So are there any other types of modalities or treatment that you use with clients to get to the root cause of what's ailing them?
Well, I was just thinking about with the food part, like the top foods I was going to do was the greens. The other one is huge, is omega-3s. Those are anti-inflammatory, very healing. So I always get people to do chia seeds, flax seeds, or depending if you believe in eating fish or not, wild salmon. So those are another really great source of anti-inflammatory foods. That really, really, if you did nothing else, you added the greens and the omega-3s, even if you didn't eliminate anything, if you were adding those things, you would feel better. Your pain would be going away. I mean, it wouldn't be gone because there'd be other things, but there's no way you couldn't feel better just doing that.
Wow, that's great to know. Do you feel like you can get that from like a fish oil pill, or do you recommend actually eating the food?
Food? It depends on the type of supplement that you get. I mean, I always tell people to look at the EPA and the DHA, which is the part of the omega-3 that you really need. And again, it depends if you want to do repair or it depends if you want to do maintenance. So if you're wanting to do repair, I would do more like 3,000 milligrams a day. If you're kind of wanting more maintenance, probably 1,000's enough. And you can get them from plant-based source too if you don't want to have a fish source. You can get them from plant sources too.
Okay, that's great to know.
But the chia seeds also have another benefit too, because they're kind of they are a detoxifier, so they help keep systems going, which is an also added benefit as well as the omega-3. So
do you work with people at all on like the exercise piece or meditation, mindfulness as part of your stress reduction or anti-inflammatory approach, or do not address that?
What I encourage people to do is 30 minutes of movement that they like a day. So if you like walking, or if you like yoga, or if you like burning up for a run, I mean, do what, but I would never make someone do something that didn't feel like in tune with themselves kind of thing. But yeah, movement's huge. And as far as the stillness part, the meditation part, I really believe in being present with your emotional self, your emotional body, I guess. So I get people to just close their eyes and kind of tune in to where there's any heaviness, any tightness, and just kind of sit with that. And then lots of things happen. It shifts and moves. It evaporates. I mean, that's a whole kind of another almost session on itself, I guess. But yeah, I definitely believe that has to be addressed, because no matter how many vegetables that you do eat, even if you're swarming in a pool of negativity and stress, you are never going to be healthy, even if you have the perfect foods.
So true. I totally agree with you on that. This is great. So tell us a little bit about the little free gift you have for anyone watching today, and how we can get in touch with you and reach you.
That sounds great. Yeah, so I have put together a report. It's called Listen to Your Body's Whispers. So the way your body whispers work is that, you may have something now like headaches, or you may have a little bit of stiffness, or you may have a little bit of skin issues. And, they're pretty common things. So we almost dismiss them as almost really being normal things, even though it's not really a normal, healthy body. So I encourage people to pay attention to those, because if we don't hear them and don't act on them, we get louder knocks. So you get full-blown arthritis, or you get asthma out of it. Instead of just eczema, you get asthma, you get ADHD, you get a whole spin-off. So there's always warnings, and we have to tune in and listen. So that's all in my report there. I'll put the link. We can put the link at the bottom of this in the comments, I'm sure. Or you have the link on the show notes too, actually.
Excuse me. It's on the show notes, but put it in the comments too. Might as well put it everywhere, right? So that's great. That's a free gift that you're giving to people watching today. And tell us how else people can get a hold of you. You have a Facebook page, right? You can I think I put that there as well.
Yeah. That the link's in there too. Yeah, just connect with me. Send me a message on Messenger. I check them very often. I could put my email out there too. It's drlisa, like Dr. Lisa, at miracleoffood.com. I read every email, so I would be happy to answer any questions. Like, what's your biggest struggle, I guess, is a good place to start. And if you don't know, just say, I don't know. I mean, it could be a 3-word email, or even just say, I caught you live, and we can go from there. And if you're shy and you're thinking, oh, this isn't for me, I don't know what to say, it's like, it's just you and me. So it's fine. Yeah. The biggest other people think is it's a lot of time and it's a lot of money to eat healthy. But I assure you that we do not spend any more than anyone else on eating with us, our family of 5. And I assure you, I do not definitely spend any more time than anyone, because I'm doing this. I'm doing optometry. I homeschool my kids. I mean, I have, like I said, a family of 5. So I am not all day in the kitchen. I've got it lit to a place of Whole Foods without being there all day.
That's amazing. So you also cook, right? Like you're a chef or a foodie at least, right?
No.
No?
Yeah. I have a huge interest in food. I am not a chef at all. I love cook. I mean, I don't know if I love cooking is a strong word. I cook because I know that I need to have, that I'm passionate about what we're eating, and that's why I cook.
No, I hear that. I totally hear that. It's been so wonderful speaking with you, and I hope that people take advantage of the free gift. Listen to Your Body Whispers. That's what it's called, right? I love that.
Yes.
That's so much of what I do too, is like listening, very deeply to how your body communicates with you, because it's going to guide you in the right path. But oftentimes we're so distracted by the noise and the outside experts and everything else that we aren't even aware of, that we're hurting until like our body's screaming at us, right? So you talked about that. And so Lisa, thank you so much for joining us on Food Mood Attitude. If there's anything else you'd like to some parting words, then feel free to. You have the floor.
Well, no, I just thank you for being here and inviting me. I've had a good time, and just be in touch. And I hope that you found something. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you have questions for Lisa, just drop them in the comments, and both of us are going to check back, and we'll be happy to answer anything that you have. So thank you so much, Lisa. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jenny.
Bye.